16 months since a mainstream widely adopted paddle. Pro sponsorships ending without renegotiation. We didn't hear from them for a while. It seemed like they went off the grid. But then, little by little, they started to appear. So where have they been, and why are they letting us in behind closed doors now? We tend to look at the current moment in smaller chunks, a short-term view, but we have to keep in mind of the larger picture, the grand scheme of things, like a 10-year stretch. Because this is just a moment. Look at the stock market. It's easy to get caught up in a momentary dip, but if you zoom out, that dip becomes pretty insignificant. And that's one way to look at business. That's one way to look at Selkirk's business. In the past 16-ish months, they weren't really mentioned in paddle conversations. But as you watch this video, you'll learn that that's just a small piece within the larger picture. And when myself and a few other content creators in the space were fortunate enough to be invited out to their headquarters, I quickly learned that while I misunderstood their relevancy as a brand in this sport in the past year or so, they were busy taking one step back to take 2 steps forward.
We have to make that paddle. Okay, now the paddle's done. Now we got to send it out to them and wait 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to get and pay thousands of dollars, get it back, and then we get our answer. Versus here, we can make it on Monday, test it on Wednesday, and have our answer if that construction worked or it's legal or not. And also we can use these equipment for quality testing outside of R&D, and also it just helps us actually understand the science of pickleball.
Holy shit.
And then you take another scan, you rotate it, and we end up taking, and you can get so detailed on this, you can take so many scans.
Thousands.
Terabytes of scans.
Yeah, so that's our first flagship store, we're calling it. I mean, it's been a great experience. So it's very humbling for us to be able to be at a point where we can open a store that's a pickleball dedicated store and actually fill it with our branded merchandise, right? I think for the sport too, and for us, what it means is it just shows that pickleball is going mainstream, and our goal is for this to be a proof concept that these could be repeated throughout the world. It also allows us to have data in that community to see how that pro shop interacts with the community, and then also get data in real life. One thing that's hard when you're trying to improve products, right? Even clothing is a great example. Our sales team there is able to give us data on how people are feeling about the fit, function, what they would like to see, and we get that data really quick because they're part of the company. So it's a huge test bed for us to really get a lot of data on products to be able to improve and understand what's moving in real life versus, which is very different sometimes than online in a D2C environment or even wholesale.
What I wasn't expecting was this in-depth tour and behind-the-scenes look into just about everything. From their shipping warehouse to fabrication to testing, assembly, and manufacturing. I mean, they really didn't hold back.
To get this part, right? And this is amazing because this is a really big, mean machine. This machine's actually a mold maker. It's meant to make really hardened steel tools that are very accurate. And this is just the start of it. None of this was here like a year ago. Yeah. So, and this was growing it more. And yeah, we got welders and sheet metal shop over there. So it's kind of fun to be able to make.
I'll be the first one to tell you that I thought this brand was fading away. We just hadn't seen a significant product from them at the higher level. And boy, was I wrong. What I didn't see or understand was everything happening internally. If I could sum it up in one word, it would be infrastructure. Thanks, Chase. Viori. It wouldn't be a video of mine without mentioning my favorite sponsor. Father's Day is coming up, and I'm going to make it really easy for you. Check out Viori. Gifts can be really tricky, but I think at the end of the day, what we really want is for someone to use the gift as much as possible and not return it. However, if they do need to return it because maybe the size was wrong or maybe they don't like the color, Viori does free returns, and they do free shipping on any orders of $75 or more. If you're on social media channels like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, you've probably seen my ads. One of the ads that I did was a best sellers. Some of the best sellers include the Sunday Performance Joggers, the Strato Tech Tee, and the Coeur Shorts. You can get a 20% discount by going to viori.com/buildingpickleball. Free shipping on any orders of $75 or more, and they do free returns just in case maybe the sizing was wrong or maybe they want to exchange it with a different color. This is the Daily Radiance, and the main ingredient here is elderberry. So I was taking this back in December. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to see if it was a product that I would actually use, if it benefited me, and it turned out great. The reason I wanted to take it then is because the main ingredient ingredient is vitamin C. It has 1,000 milligrams of it. I remember around then I was traveling a lot and I was around my nieces, and I remember like getting sick. So I wanted to take these and see how I felt. And of course it worked because it has elderberry. Elderberry has antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. And I still take it today because of allergies. There's no powder, there's no pills. It's just like a kind of like a liquid form, and it's great and super convenient to bring with you during travel. If you want to stay in top form and keep showing up for the game you love, pickleball, try Peak's Daily Radiance. I've got a link below, and you get 20% off for life and a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you try it, let me know what you think.
I mean, we did everything. So when we started, right, it was me, Mike, our dad, who was a founder and owner. He had just retired from the LA Fire Department at the time. And then we had one employee. We're still friends with him to this day. He's an engineer in something else. And so that's how we started. So we've done everything. Like, I helped build paddles. We dealt with customer service. Our wives, especially Mike's wife, when he first married him, she was our first like major customer service agent. So I think from a change perspective, like we learned how to do everything because we had to. Whereas now we have close to almost 200 employees where we're more leading teams to accomplish goals. So it's just, that's been a big difference. And then, I mean, the sport has changed immensely.
So every couple of years, it feels like we're running a different company, because early on we're doing every job, which is actually great. It's a great experience. We kind of understand the big picture and also the details, but every year we kind of have to adapt and reinvent ourselves. So actually, something we'll look at every once in a while is the brands that are popular, we see as our major competitors, and those really shift about every 3 years. So there's brands we were worried about, we were watching, were our biggest competitors in 2014. Like, I mean, when we first started, it was Pickleball Inc. and ProLite, and they're not existent now, but those were the major brands. So we always felt like there's different brands every year. We're one of the few that have actually survived throughout the years, and even now we're starting to see a shift in the major brands the past year or so.
Basically, they're laying down foundations now for them to be able to reap in the future for years to come. From business processes and models to manufacturing and testing. As the co-founders put it, they're really focused on vertical integration. If you bring it all in-house, you have complete control. Not only that, you get increased scaling and speed. They can turn around products very quickly.
You've been hitting with the paddle, but we're coming out with some paddles within SLK that are Gen 3 like, that are using PP, and the durability, because we're putting QC in place, is much higher than a lot of the ones we've seen in the market so far. But the stuff that we're specifically putting in Selkirk is going to be even better performance and extremely durable, because that's where SLK is a one year warranty, right? Selkirk's the limited lifetime warranty. Yeah, so I wanted to like make sure that was clear, because like we are careful. Like the I would say the tech that we put in SLK is durable, and the stuff our engineer guys would use, the stuff we put in Selkirk are units. Like we're making stuff, we're trying to make tanks that perform, and it's interesting, and we price accordingly.
And it's interesting on this point. This is some of the biggest pushback we've received in the industry is
with the ball too,
with the ball especially, but we've been called stupid numerous times by players within the industry for creating durable product. They said, like, no, you don't understand. If you were
these are other business people within the sport.
Yeah, so they've told us, like, we're stupid. If you were smart, you would engage in planned obsolescence, which is a pretty somewhat common thing for companies to do. They'll obviously never admit it. But they would say, like, no, you should make your paddles break down so that they have to buy more. So we received this with the InfiniGrit, because it is, I mean, and I think we'll show some tests, and we have a video coming out about it that show, because we have a test where we rotate
abrasion test,
rotate on the paddles, and we could see how long it takes to wear down. And so the InfiniGrit, according to our test, is 3 times more durable than raw carbon fiber.
And so what I've seen as well on this test is raw carbons will start, they make it around 1H, 2H in hardness, and then the InfiniGrit is 7 to 9H in hardness. So there you have a huge, you have a drastic hardness increase from coatings.
How does Selkirk find you?
Like, we receive a lot of pushback. That's something that a lot of businesses don't want to push, because it's good for us if people believe it, but it affects other products, where even if you have a cheaper product, like if you're having to buy that 3 times more often, like our products are actually a good value, which is what we're shooting for. But we received that especially on the on the Selkirk Pro S1 ball, because that was the first ball with a 1-year no crack warranty. And I mean, we still have customers emailing in about how they've used this ball for a year. Again, nothing's
We
perfect.
ran them over and they haven't broken.
Yeah.
They haven't broke.
So they're initially we had some issues with out of round. We actually adjusted things, fixed some quality control to where we don't have the out of round issues.
At least not as much. You're still gonna get. It's a ball, so you're gonna get one.
Right. Especially some of that is, well, yeah, our balls maybe go out of round eventually, but if you're playing with it for 3 months, like that could happen. Anyway, we received a lot of pushback on that because if that ball became standard, it would greatly affect the industry in terms of overall ball volume, which again, like, we're not really concerned about that. We're just trying to make the best product that's best for the consumer, and we think that would be best for the consumer.
There are a lot of different ways to create a brand, but because Selkirk's been in the sport for over 10 years, they're no longer a garage brand. They're servicing more than just the higher level player market. I've been in the shipping warehouse. Trust me, they have no issues shipping out products. If you're watching this video and you're a high level player, we are just a small subset in the entire demographic of pickleball players. Something else I was really impressed by was the company culture and employee sentiment. People enjoy their role. They enjoy being part of not only a successful company in a fun and exciting sport, but a company that wants to grow and excel, a company at the forefront of a nascent sport. Something else to keep in mind is that Selkirk is one of the very few pure pickleball brands with around 200 employees. How many other solely pickleball brands are there with that many employees and 5 or so office buildings? Just quick math. You wouldn't be able to support that kind of overhead cost if they were a dying brand. I even looked at their job listings and they have 3 roles open, and one of them being a summer internship program. That truly says something about their company turnover rate. This company was founded by 2 brothers and their father, while their youngest brother joined after transitioning from the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves. This company was bootstrapped on their own and has received 0 outside investment.
Yeah, so we've actually played those since 2010. So we fell in love with playing with the sport, and then we founded the company. So we've been playing for, at this point, right, 15 years. So for a while.
A lot of change since
it's
then.
crazy, man.
Yeah, when we first got into the sport, people wondered what we were doing with our lives. It was not a cool sport to be in. But since the pandemic, when it exploded, it became a cool sport to be involved in. A lot of investment money flooded in. Everybody was trying to take advantage of the growth, but we were really part of it when pickleball wasn't a cool sport, and we were trying to transform it from this corny mom and pop industry into a more professional industry and sport, which we think has happened since 2014 for sure.
Back then, I would say 1 out of 10 people knew what the sport was. Like, you would say, oh, we manufacture pickleball, and they're like, what is that? And you'd have to go through the whole spiel, right? Whereas nowadays you say, and everyone's at least heard of it, and I would say a majority of people have played, at least in the U.S. So it was definitely a different dynamic back then. And we're early 30s, right? So then we were early 20s in a sport that was primarily, even when we were running the business, that was primarily in their 60s. So we were by far usually the youngest people on site at these events, because like early days, we really grinded it out. Like, we went to tons of tournaments. We'd have a suitcase, we'd pull it out, lay all the paddles out, and it was interesting. It was fun.
So yeah, and just bootstrapped it. So we haven't received any investment. It's only the owners or the family, and so yeah, it's been as anybody that has any sort of venture, building any kind of business knows, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of grinding, and it takes a while and patience to actually see the results. So it's been a fun ride, but pickleball industry has been great, treated us very well.
So how do you define the success of a company? Is it product, or the company's impact on the community, how many employees they hire, how many patents they have, how many units they sell, or maybe it's the number of years they've been in business, the ideas they've brought to an industry?
Make the tool on Tuesday and then mess with it on Wednesday, and between Wednesday and Thursday actually make the part. If it's sheet good, we can make it like all in one day. and then go from there to sending it to our quality guys in our lab to sit there and qualify the part. And I say part, so I refer to it as manufacturing side. We qualify the paddle and make sure it passes testing or see what it changes, right? So within a week, we can make the most complex construction from ideation to completion to we know what the data on it is, which is we're the only people that can do that.
And keep in mind too, we've been working on this for a year, and really all those pieces have kind of came together. I would say the last couple of months, fully. A lot of pieces where we were doing this for a while, but all the components where we can do it and actually qualify the part have all came together in the last couple of months.
Yeah, all the way from mold making down to the laboratory tests. A lot of that, we're getting more and more capability every week because of how fast we're moving on it. So, and that normally means if machine shows up, then we get that up and running, and it gives us something new we can do.
People talk about, is Selkirk really manufacturing in the USA?
Okay, so the made in USA and assembled in USA, that falls under Selkirk.
Correct.
Okay, and SLK is
Yes, made overseas.
Made
All that
overseas.
product set just goes to the warehouse.
And then what about labs?
Labs is made or assembled as well.
Made or assembled in the US?
Yes.
Okay.
So it makes sense for them to do that overseas because of the sheer quantity. Already, I can tell you, as far as just pure pickleball brands, I would be very surprised to see how many brands have a shipping warehouse in-house the size of Selkirk's versus distributing it to a third party. As well as the fabrication, that isn't enough for you, the labs and testing.
Voxel size is incredibly small. It's 0.008 millimeter, incredibly small. But yeah, this is a great machine.
How long have you had this?
2-3 months. Yeah. So
Super impressive because they're bringing this testing in-house, which allows them to have more control, more speed, more accuracy, and deliver a product for the end consumer that they won't have concern about failed testing. What I noticed about the testing and manufacturing is that this creates an improved customer experience. There's less concern for poor durability, returns, or product defects. I'm not saying this is 100% foolproof, but if they have a limited lifetime warranty and 1-year warranty, they're putting their money where their mouth is. In a lot of cases, you can't have speed and quality. You can look at the current landscape and see that many companies chose speed. You can also see how that's turned out for them with the core crushing, defects, returns, failed testing. Something that Selkirk is choosing is quality. They want to stand behind the product. Why the late start on Gen 3?
And I think a good recent example of that is kind of all the paddle controversy that's happened really in 12 months, right? Since Gen 3 concepts have kind of been a thing. And people have kind of said, why haven't you came out with something like that? And it's we're not going to build something that falls apart. We have a limited lifetime warranty. We're going to make sure we do it right. We're going to make sure it's within the heart of the rules because we were fighting that this is not good for the game. And I think some of the tech we're going to show you is we're able to build performance products at the highest level that are actually durable and hold up and aren't building in, purposeful obsolescence, which is what we're seeing a lot of right now. So we're just trying to be purposeful in what we're doing, and we're okay being perceived as being behind if we're doing the things that we know will get us ahead long term.
What does the future hold for Selkirk?
We've been working on foam structures for a while. So obviously ours is solid, and then they have their structure, right? Or holes. So one thing I'll say is I think a lot of consumers don't understand is when you see a product today, it took a year, sometimes longer. We're trying to shorten those time frames to make that product, right? So decisions were made a year ago, same with 007. That project started early 2023 and it came out end of 2024 because we were changing some stuff. So we saw obviously a huge shift in the sport since then, right? I mean, really in 2024. So 008 was great because we used that platform to really kind of test out structures, how we process the foam, how the playability was, durability was, because that's labs. It's our kind of our test bed, right, to really try products. Sometimes long term we'll have more mass market products. 008 was actually pretty mass market. We widened distribution on 008, but it was a great test bed for us to learn how the foam, how consumers are interacting with the foam, durability, how the different thicknesses performed in the market. So foam is the future, pure and simple.
And a little bonus for you, something I was not aware of regarding tariffs.
Also, one of the things that you're not really seeing talked about much in the media in general, but is a huge factor, is a loophole that's somewhat unique to the USA. So in most other countries, you have to be you have to own a company in that country to import, right? And in a lot of countries, like India, China is very much this way. They do not make it easy for foreign companies to come in and own businesses. The U.S. is one of the countries that it's the easiest to do business in. It's very easy for foreign companies to import goods. And what's a unique thing about the U.S. is a foreign company, like a Chinese company, can be the importer of record in the USA. So I know I'm getting into some technical terms, but essentially what that means is that they're responsible for compliance and reporting the prices that they're bringing goods in on. And so what happens in those situations is there's a lot of cheating that's involved. And so what we've seen from a lot of factories is they've made a switch overnight and said, hey, wait, hold on. I know there's tariffs, but actually you don't have to pay those tariffs. We'll be the importer of record. We'll bring it in. But the problem is
DDP. I think is the term.
Delivered duty paid. Yeah. The problem is that we're not engaging in this because we know that they're basically offering to cheat, right? So they're basically saying we'll bring them in and they're going to report a lower price. This is also very common on Amazon, because Amazon allows you, a lot of the top brands in Amazon are actually Chinese companies, and they're the importer of record. And so you won't see prices increase right now because that loophole still exists, and we see a lot of cheating happening at the moment.
Man, how could you not be proud of this brand? This brand was founded by a family, two brothers who have been playing since 2010. They founded the company in 2014. They bootstrapped it themselves. There's zero outside investment. They have majority of their employees in the US, so they bring jobs back to the US and they manufacture here. Look, there's nothing wrong with outsourcing your work or manufacturing your products overseas. It's just a more efficient route. But if you can bring more jobs to the US and to this country, I think it's a pretty beautiful thing.